Frontier 4345, we're stopping on the runway. We just hit somebody, we have an engine fire.
The aviation industry has just been shaken by a horrifying incident that took place just a few hours ago at Denver Airport. Frontier 4345 head to LAX was on the runway ready for departure, and as they spooled up ready for takeoff, a pedestrian entered the runway. The aircraft hit the pedestrian and the pilots had to abort the takeoff, came to a full stop, declared an emergency, and also reported that they had an engine fire. They immediately knew what had occurred and reported it to the tower. So we're going to look a little bit more into this incident, why it happened, how it could have happened, how it could have been prevented, and all of the circumstances that actually led up to this incident. So what we know so far and what is confirmed is that the pedestrian that entered the runway obviously deceased. A full emergency was declared and the aircraft was evacuated. None of the passengers or crew on board the aircraft were injured during this emergency, and the flight was rescheduled for the next day. The aircraft involved in this incident was an A321 by Frontier Airlines with 231 souls on board, 224 passengers and 7 crew members. During the takeoff roll, the pilots reported striking an individual crossing the runway and immediately aborted the takeoff.
Tower, Frontier 4345, we're stopping on the runway. We just hit somebody, we have an engine fire.
Frontier 4345, I see that.
Tower, Southwest 2921, left base for 16
Southwest Frontier 4345, I'm going to be rolling the trucks now. Can you know the souls on board and fuel remaining?
All right, 4345, we have 231 souls on board. We have 21,320 pounds of fuel on board. There was an individual walking across the runway.
Okay, we are rolling the trucks down.
We've got smoke in the aircraft. We're going to evacuate on the runway.
Okay, we're having ops and emergency vehicles going all the way now. Op 7, they're about halfway down the runway, 17 left. They're evacuating the runway, the aircraft on the runway.
Reports from the airport and media confirmed that there was a brief engine fire and smoke inside the cabin. The crew ordered an immediate evacuation and the passengers exited the aircraft via the slides onto the runway. So far, authorities have just described the victim as an individual or pedestrian on the runway. As of now, authorities have not confirmed if this was an airport worker, a contractor, or a passenger/unauthorized trespasser. At major US airports in the US like Denver, there are multiple layers that prevent pedestrians getting onto the runways and taxiways. Any individual or vehicle entering those areas is supposed to be trained and in constant contact with the tower or airport operation. But as we saw with this recent event of an airplane hitting a fire truck, things often do go wrong. A person, vehicle, or aircraft entering a runway that they shouldn't is called an incursion, and this is a serious safety violation and will be treated as such. But as of now, we simply do not know who this individual was, how they got access to the runway, and what they were actually doing there. But there are a few possible scenarios, all of which are just theories right now and not confirmed. One of these scenarios is that the person that was on the runway was either a contractor or an airport worker that was just simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. And regulators track these incidents as deviations when a vehicle or personnel get onto an active runway without proper clearance. In this scenario, they might have authorized access to the air side of the airport, but they didn't get proper or clear clearance to enter the area they were entering. Scenario 2 is a perimeter or gate breach, meaning that a passenger intentionally or unintentionally got access to an active runway, or an unauthorized trespasser breached the perimeter gates or fences, and that's how they gained access to the runway. And scenario 3 is a misuse of the service roads or airfield routes. And scenario 4 is an intentional unauthorized access by individuals. And this has happened a few times where individuals gain access to an airfield with the pure intent of self-harm. Very sad, but also very possible. The NTSB and airport security will be analyzing the security footage, the access logs, CCTVs, and any other material that they can to identify who this individual was and where this individual came from. Possibly they already know, but right now authorities have not reported it to the media or the public. They'll usually examine ATC recordings, ground radar, or surface movement data, and crew statements to understand what, if anything, was visible or known before impact. Denver International Airport has already closed runway 17L for the investigation, signaling a detailed on-scene examination of the impact point and the aircraft. We can only expect a preliminary report within weeks and a full factual report with a probable cause much later. Frontier has said they are deeply saddened by the incident, and one can only imagine the psychological toll and trauma an incident like this takes on the pilots and the crew members, and of course also the passengers. If you listen to the ATC recordings, the pilots sound very distressed when they made this report. And if you just imagine yourself in that situation, you see someone entering the runway, but you know exactly there is no way that you can prevent an impact. Also trying to protect the passengers that you have on board. So a pilot has a split second to make a decision if he's going to abort the takeoff, if he's going to try to avoid the obstacle, or if he's just going to hit the brakes, well knowing that he will actually hit the pedestrian on the runway. I think in this scenario, it's safe to say that the pilots and the crew members made the right decision, leading to no injuries of passengers or crew members. Now, runway incursions involving pedestrians are extremely rare, and usually when it does happen, it leads to a ton of new safety restrictions at the airport and new safety measures that get implemented. We'll see over the next few weeks what actually happened and how it happened. And I might do an update video to this as well. But let me know in the comments down below. How do you think this happened? What is the most likely scenario of the ones that I did mention? And do you think the pilots made the right decision, made the right call? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next time. Bye.